Hey guys, it's Colton Lindsay here with Winning the Inner Game. I want to welcome you to another Winning Series interview. I'm super stoked for today because it's a longtime friend of mine that's coming on to bring on a really important and special topic for me. Before we hop into that, I want to first of all just let you know that these interviews are sponsored by Fearless Agent. You can go to fearlessagent.com and check out the most effective and affordable coaching and training for real estate on the planet today. Also, Mojo Sales Dialer, an amazing CRM and auto dialer to make sure you're making more contacts and converting more leads to appointments and getting paid more money. I want to welcome my good friend, Greg Blackbourn, onto the podcast today. Greg, so I told you what we were going to do 90 seconds before, or you're going to get 90 seconds to give your story of how you got to where you're at today and maybe introduce who you are and why I brought you on today.
All right. Okay. My name is Greg Blackbourn. 90 seconds. Let's see. I started in financial services when I was 21 years old. Very quickly found out it wasn't the right thing to do. It was all about sales and not creating value. And I went in to make a difference in financial services and just worked. That's all I did. Started making great money. But I had little kids, and I had 3 kids at the time. And my 7-year-old came to me. I mean, I started doing really well in my financial service career. And my 7-year-old would come to me, Dad, can we go do this? Hey, buddy, we'll have to do it next week. I got a meeting. I have to do it. Well, we'll do it tomorrow or next week. Okay. Next week would roll around. Dad, you said we could do this. Buddy, I got to fly out of town. I got a big client. Sorry. Well, I'll do it next week. I don't know how long that trap was, but finally a 7-year-old boy had the balls to tell me, Dad, you care more about your clients than you do your family. And at that moment, it completely changed my life. And I looked at my wife and I said, I will never go to work again before they're gone to school. I'm not going to work late anymore. If I do, I'm going to take the next day off. But I made a decision at that moment, right then and there, even though I was highly successful in my financial service career, that I would not do anything without having my kids. So I spent 2 hours one-on-one every single week. And I've been doing it for 11 years now with each of my kids. 2 hours with my wife one-on-one, 2 hours where I take all the kids so my wife can just get away from all of them. We have 6 of them now. And, we do 2 hours of family time too. And it's not necessarily exact time, but the most important thing is I changed my life and put my family foundation first. And ironically enough, my career took off even more because I had such a sense of purpose at home, if that makes any sense. So I was so worried about making money that I neglected my family. But when I started taking care of my family, the money followed. So that's, in the quick sum up, that's my life. I mean, it was all about business. Now it's all about family and friendships to me. Business follows after value creation.
So your son was 7 when this happened. How old is he today?
Yeah, he just turned 18. So that's 11 years ago. Such a dynamic change in my life.
So, and in the last 11 years, would you say you've given it all to your family? Would you say there's some ups and downs along the way there?
Well, there's ups and downs by all means. I mean, I had some discontent in a business partnership because I started spending so much time with my family and I wasn't willing to work the 90 to 100 hours I was working before. I mean, I really dynamically changed. But for me, I think it's all upside. I don't think there's any downside to my life because where I am today, my kids are not just my kids, they're my friends, they're my best friends, and I would choose to hang out with them. I'll miss a meeting with a client before I miss a meeting with my 6-year-old. And that has given me such a profound foundation. And when people actually understand my story, I think there's a lot of instant trust there too in our friendship because they understand what my core value is, and that's my family.
And then you tend to attract clients, customers, have that similar core value of family. Is that what you're saying here?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how many people said the best thing they get out. I mean, here I am in finance and, we do all this plan, we get their estate plan and bring all this team together. And I ask them, hey, what's the number one thing you got from this process? And the majority of the answers are all, you've taught me how to spend more time with my family, which that's a huge thing for legacy. I mean, I don't care if they know my name, but I'll tell you, if we can make that impact where now they're being a better dad, they're being a better mom, they're being a better friend because of time spent with me, then I guess I'm doing the right thing and I'll keep on that mission.
So, and that's why I brought you on the podcast, because, I've gone through, and you met me, I think probably I was maybe 23 at the time. I can't remember. It's been several years now.
Yeah, you were young for sure.
Yeah, and I was at the beginning stages of this idea of financial freedom and growth and wealth and value creation. And as I've progressed, I've built an amazing real estate sales business, coaching and training businesses, built my wealth. I've learned as well, wait a second, it's now more than just my creative vision. It's my wife and my children. And it's been a learning curve for myself. And I found that inside of the real estate sales industry and business in general, this is where most producers lack, is what they're doing with their family, with their home. That's why I wanted to bring you on there, or on the show. And I noticed you said something, and you actually told me this a long time ago, 2 hours per child, which you have how many kids?
I have six and my wife. So, I mean, it's almost, if you wouldn't in work hours, it's a part-time job that I spend no matter what dedicated. I will not answer the phone. I will not distract from it. I'm going to do something with each of them and make sure it's quality time.
So typically what part of the day are these 2 hour increments happening with your kids? How does that look?
Well, if my wife is watching this after school hours, if I'm just broadcasting it to the world, it doesn't matter, man. I sneak out my kids. I went and got, for example, just a couple months ago, I went and got my 15-year-old, and he came to the office and he just looked at me and he smiled. It was like 11 o'clock. And he goes, "Please say we're going golfing." I said, "Yeah, I don't have anyone else to play with." So we left. I just took him out of school, and the school staff was baffled that I did that. They're like, "You're really taking your child out to go play golf?" I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, I am. We went and had a great time. Two of my other friends showed up, and he bonded with them, and he got to see what relationship worth is. I mean, net worth and happiness doesn't just say financial net worth. I mean, there's spiritual net worth, there's emotional net worth, there's relationship net worth. And I look at, I'm helping my child understand that people are their greatest assets. And, when I spent time with that, what is he going to remember? The one math thing he didn't learn, or the time that dad checked him out and went and played 18 with him and just focused purely on him?
Yeah. So how do you decide if you're going to go play 18 with him, or even you've got a 6-year-old daughter? How do you know what you're going to do with them with that time frame so it's not wasted away? What are you doing to take advantage of that?
I leave it up to them, to be honest. I don't have pre-planned. Sometimes, like if it's golf, I know my 15-year-old loves to golf, but I know my 10-year-old would rather go run up a hill. And, so it really just depends. My daughter, we could play Barbie or we could go kick a soccer ball. I mean, she's my tomboy. I have 5 boys and 1 girl, but it's up to them. But I have one rule when I do hang out with them, is that we at least have a couple powerful conversations while we're doing it. So, one of the biggest questions is, and if I had any of my kids here right now, they would come and ask. I said, "What are people?" And every single one of them will answer assets. And they believe that. It's not just a question Dad's asking, but they understand that to treat people in this age of technology, we have so many people that are so glued to their phones and they don't understand how to do what you and I are doing, even just have a normal conversation. I mean, it's all through text or through social media. So I'm teaching my kids that, understand people, and that, if you want something, create value for others. And I think, value follows value in my world. And I think my kids are learning part of that. Again, it's not like I'm this perfect dad and I don't have problems. My 18-year-old and I, we go at it because he's 18-year-old and he's finding himself and he's questioning some of the things I teach him, which is great. I'm happy to see him excel. So it's not like everything is perfect. We do have discontent, but I'm doing the best I can to help them understand some of the core principles that at least I live my life by. And that's, people are your greatest assets.
So tell us more about that, because I've heard you say that people are assets for going on 9 years now. Go into a little bit more detail what you mean on that. People are assets.
Well, I mean, let's take our friendship, for example. Why am I even agreeing to do this call? Because you're important to me. Your friendship means something to me. I know that if I was in a bind, or if I needed something, or if I have a client that needs to understand a real estate question, even if you weren't going to be their realtor, I could call you and say, "Hey, Colton, would you do me a favor? Can you at least create value and talk to this person?" You would do it with no question. I mean, am I right to assume that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because we have a relationship and you are important to me. And I look at, that's what I mean by people are assets. When you can exchange value with someone and it's truly only because you want to create for them and you don't want to take from them, I think that's where we gain the greatest friendships in our life.
How often do you see, whether it's in the financial industry or I mean, a wide variety of different industries in your contacts, that people are seeing other people as dollar signs versus
Yeah.
relationships?
It's not just the financial industry. Unfortunately, I think it's the way our world is. It's so transactional. It's all about, oh, hey, you're Colton. How are you doing? Great. Send me everyone you know so I can sell them something. And it's not like, hey, Colton, who are you? How do I create value for you? It becomes a win-lose in a lot of those places. So I look at, transactions happen in every industry every day. And I get people need to make money. It's a medium of exchange. Yet, I'm only talking to you and my only intention is to make money off you. Am I really being valuable in your life? We probably shouldn't do that transaction. If it's not a win for you and not a win for me, I don't want to enter that, because you know what? You're going to become a pain in my ass if I'm only doing it to make money. What am I going to, you're going to complain to me. You're going to do things. I may not set up things the right way. I may not be there for you the way I would if it was a true solid relationship. So I think, you know, our world has become so transactional. The reason I see your success and what you're doing in real estate is because you're not that way. You're not to say, hey, let me list your house, sell next. You're creating value for people. You're doing what you're doing right now, helping enhance their lives and show them and learn and educate them and be a steward over the knowledge and lessons that you've learned. That's powerful. And I think there's a huge market for people to actually create value in this world and get away from just the sell, 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 go, go, go mentality.
Well, I think that we've entered, and it's been a while, but we're in a crisis in our world, and it's an education crisis. It's the education on how do we build relationships, how do we manage our finances, how do we have healthy nutrition, right? Think about your kids in school. At what point are they teaching them financial management or how to have an awesome marriage or how to have good relationships? When are they teaching?
They're not. It's funny because when I have a lot of my oldest son's friends. We accumulate kids at our house. They just keep on coming. All the friends come over here and hang out. And I had one of my oldest son's friends say, "Thank you for teaching me about people." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Just the way you treat people." He said, "I don't see that. Everyone at school, no one treats each other that way. It's all talking about someone or ignoring someone." He said, "You just treat people for people." And it's sad that that's coming from a high school senior, and that's his view of the world. We got to do something different. And financial management, that doesn't even exist. I have a company that we teach financial, spiritual, mental wealth to employees, and we're looking to enhance the employee process and educate them. And our biggest take is people love our financial wellness product because we don't sell a product in it. It's all education driven. But every single one, especially the millennials, they look at us and say, "Where did you learn this? Because I never learned this in school." And it's basic financial principles. It baffles me.
Which goes back to the whole circle of being with your kids, each one 2 hours a week, and the idea of powerful conversations. Because if we're not, as fathers and mothers and parents, having these conversations with them, who is?
Yeah, and you're dead on. And I think we have a stewardship as parents to provide that to our kids and educate them and do the best we can in order to prepare them for the world. And again, we're not always right. You can ask my oldest son. I for sure am not always right. Yet there's still principles I see him live, and that's because of the time we've spent. It's not like he's choosing to adapt them. I'm not forcing them upon him. But I think some of the conversations we have allowed him to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit better steward over my money. I'm going to save my money versus just go blow it because I understand this principle, Dad. So I think if we can, collaboratively go out there and teach our children some base principles just about life. And again, I think finance is the last one we need to teach. I think we have to have the spiritual side. And I'm not trying to preach religion. I'm just saying, have belief, have personal faith towards ourselves, making sure that we have, physical. Are we taking care of ourselves physically? Are we are we working out? Are we eating healthy? Are we doing these things? Problem is, it's a holistic effort. It's not just about money. The problem in our society focuses a lot on money.
And we understand that we are model-based people. We learn from the models in our life. And so when you have a guy like you, Greg, that it's not just going on 18 holes and having the powerful conversation, it's going to your day-to-day life and living the conversation. So
That, yeah.
So I want to wrap on two things on that. So one is powerful conversations. You've got a 6-year-old. Tell us, how does a powerful conversation look with a 6-year-old?
Because Nick is, he's my best friend. With him, it's very simple stuff. The same thing I'm saying to my 18-year-old, I'm saying it to him. So I drive all my kids, well, 5 of them I drive to school every single day. And that's just part of my duty. But I have conversation. It's just a simple question like, all right, what are people? And you'll hear them chime in, assets. And maybe he doesn't understand fully that, but he understands the wording around it. And he sees how every single person in my life, I will introduce. If you were here, I would make each and every one of my children come up to you and say, hi, I'm Josh, I'm Drew, I'm Ella, I'm Nick, I'm Zach, I'm Ryan. I have a lot of kids. And nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you, ma'am. And I'm teaching them that, just respect other people. So I don't think it's that hard. 6-year-olds understand life a lot simpler than we do. I think as adults, we complicate things so much. It's for him, it's very easy. Hey, treat people well and you'll be treated well in return. And I think he sees a lot of that. It's not perfect yet. I think the more I can expose him to that kind of language and that kind of me showing up and making sure that he's looking people in the eye, being a gentleman. I mean, he the other day, he let my daughter eat first, which blew me away. He goes, Dad, you're part of the Gentleman Project, and I'm going to be a gentleman, ladies first. It was awesome. It was absolutely incredible. I'm like, wow, he gets it. And even though he had been fighting with his sister a little bit earlier, he still saw that. So, yeah, I think they retain a lot more than we think they do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got my daughter's 4 years old, and we always are talking about. I mean, I'm trying to pass the concept into her of the idea of the richest man in Babylon, right? And to make sure that she's always saving, putting her money in the jar system. And one of the things, every time she's got like a little Rapunzel like piggy bank thing, she puts the quarters in and stuff. Every time she puts a quarter in, she says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And so it's she might not get this now on the idea of being grateful for every little thing, but 20 years from now, I think she's going to get that message. So what other things are you talking? So you're talking about people or assets. So what about the idea of a spiritual, this idea of spirituality and separating it from religion, but connecting it with source energy, and really that's where all people and assets come from, is from this source energy. So what your view on that?
I mean, on the spiritual side, I just teach. I have one question I ask my kids every single day, and it is, who is the most important person in your life? And each of them, I think, say confidently now, I am. And I'm teaching from the spiritual side. I think people get spirituality and religion confused. I mean, I have a strong belief in God. I will always have that. I'm not afraid to say that. Yet spirituality to me is, am I investing in myself? Am I taking care of myself? Am I doing the best thing? I had someone tell me that, well, you're teaching your kids to be greedy if they think they're the most important person. I said, well, there's two different sides of that. If it was selfish, if I'm saying, Colton, I'm more important than you, screw you, it's all about me, me, me. Yeah, maybe there's some selfishness in that. But if I can say, Colton, I'm the most important person in my life. I take care of myself in order to create value for you in your life. I think that becomes self-interest. And that's where, when we have self-interest towards ourselves and we're doing things in order to serve the greater good, I think that's where the spirituality comes in. And that's really the base. What I try to teach my kids is, are you doing the best for yourself, and are you doing the best for others?
How many times have you asked a person, most important person in your life, and they actually never even put themselves on that list?
The longest, I asked 26 questions to one person, and she kept on going, my husband. Why? Well, because he does this and this and this. Okay, if your husband was gone, well, now my child. Well, I can't choose just one child. Well, you have to. And I had her go down the list, and it took 26 people, she said, and then she finally said, well, me? I said, well, why would you be on that list? And she just broke down crying. So, I mean, I think it's a common answer for most people I've asked that question to. There's very few people that really understand that, because I think we're taught that it's greedy or evil or selfish to take care of ourselves, which I completely disagree with. I think we should take care of ourselves. The only person I can control free will over is myself. And if I take care of myself, I can be a better friend to you. I can be a better dad to my kids. I can be a better businessman to a relationship I'm dealing with. But it's funny, and most of the people I ask that question to, it's 5 or 6 at least different answers before they value themselves.
I love that answer. And to just, or that question, just the idea of understanding I'm the most important person in my life. And I don't remember if it was you or someone that shared the idea with me of, when the oxygen mask falls down in an airplane, are you going to put it on your 3-year-old first or yourself, right? And if you put it on your 3-year-old first, how much help are you going to be for your 3-year-old when you're passed out from lack of oxygen, right? You've got to put that.
You kill you both, because that 3-year-old's not going to carry you out of a plane, and they're going to be stuck to their dad saying, and they're going to be in fear. So yeah, if you don't put that mask on yourself, then how can you help anyone else on that plane?
So let's talk about putting the mask on ourselves. How do we put the mask on ourselves? What are we doing to make sure that we're able, because technology has changed in the last 3 years, let alone the last 15 or however long you've been in the financial service industry. But think about this. How long have you been in the financial service industry, by the way?
Since I was 21 years old, so 20 years now.
20 years. Woo! You're getting younger by the day, Greg. I love it.
I'm feeling younger, and trying to keep up with my kids doesn't keep me young by any means.
So what are you doing to develop that self-interest and make sure that you're putting the mask on yourself so that you can then encompass the family as well, your children?
I talk about how much time I spend with my family, but I also have time I spend for myself. I mean, the greatest thing I can do in my life is be around my friends. If I'm not around my family, it's being around my friends and having true, authentic, transparent conversations. I mean, I know I made a vow about 1.5 years ago. My dad passed away. And I made a vow. I said, I don't ever want surface level relationships in my life again. If I don't see myself, a good mentor of mine told me, if I don't see myself going fly fishing with someone, I'm probably not going to do the business deal, because I want to have a true relationship. So I made that commitment. I'm like, if I don't see myself golfing with someone, it doesn't mean we have to, but if I can't picture myself in a cart for 6 hours with them, I probably won't enter the relationship, because it's not a win-win. If it's just, hi, Colton, how are you? Oh, the family, good, great. Let's go to lunch sometime. That's not a relationship for me. And for me, I want to be able to, my friends know the good, the bad. I mean, my life, let's see, in the last couple years, I've been through financial turmoil. That's fun being in the financial world and having financial problems yourself when the businesses don't go the right way. I've lost friends. I have had issues in my marriage. Thankfully, we've fixed them. But not all life is amazing. And I think you have to take that time to invest in yourself, because when I stopped investing in myself for a little while and I just tried to take care of everyone else, I got tired, I got run down, I wasn't creating value to my clients, I wasn't bringing money in my business. It's funny how I'm trying to take care of everyone else, yet the most important person in my life I neglected, and the turmoil that followed that was astronomical. So I think that I have to, for my own life, I have to invest in me and take time for me to learn, to go out with my friends, to go on a guy's trip. I just went up to, for 4 days, I just went up to Driggs, Idaho, and went hiking in the Tetons and golfing with my buddies. It was awesome. I came back rejuvenated. I came back a better dad, a better husband, a better friend, a better advisor. And, any aspect, people ask me for advice all the time in anything. And I'm able to do that when I'm clear with myself. So a long answer to your question. I'm sorry about that, but you got to take care of yourself. If you don't, turmoil follows it.
So the question that I think everyone has, Greg, is you're spending time in the Tetons, hanging out with your friends, golfing all the time, fly fishing, spending time with your kids. When do you work, man?
The funny thing is I work all the time. Everything I do is building relationships. My partners in our wellness company, they gave me a title, and they called me Chief Relationship Officer. And I said, well, what does that mean? They said, do what you do. I'm like, okay, all right, just do what I do. I don't understand that. And they said, look, when you're out golfing, are you getting to know that person on a very deep level? Are you building a friendship? Are you building trust with them? I said, yeah, by all means. They said, you're working for us then. That's what we need. We don't have that skill. We need you to solidify trust and relationships. So, I mean, I went up with 5 of my friends, yet came back. 2 of them are meeting with one of my business partners on a deal right now because they asked me questions because they trust me. And I said, you know, I'm too close to you emotionally to refer you to my business partner and let him be objective. So when do I work? Always. My life's work is building relationships. And so I think anytime I'm with someone, if I'm authentic and transparent with them, right now I'm building my relationship with you. We haven't had an abundant talk like this for a little while, and look where we are. This is strengthening our relationship right now, so I'm working by just talking to my friend.
I love the idea of abundant conversations. I haven't heard you say that in a while. I haven't heard anyone actually say that in a while. I love that idea of abundant conversation. For those of you that aren't quite clear what that is, that's a conversation that you lift your emotional energy to the positive up the emotional guidance scale. And the better you feel, that's what creates the magnetism to attract what you want to create in this life. That's how the whole law of attraction works. And it's, you got to be around those types of people. So I want to really quick I'm tongue tied here. Touch on eye wellness and what is the whole gist behind that and what does it even do? Because I loved it. I saw the video on your guys' website the other day. Tell us where this idea came from and what the purpose is with this company.
Yeah, being in financial services for so long, one of my friends came to me and said, look, every client was in the mortgage industry, and he said, every client you season, they're perfect clients. He's like, I want to work with you so much more because when they come to me, their debt to income ratios are the right thing. They're not over purchasing houses. They want to save. They're putting money away. He goes, they're the easiest underwriting in the world, and they get it. And so we started working more hand in hand, and it just evolved. You know, sometimes business finds you, and sometimes you find business. This business found us for sure. I wasn't looking to be an entrepreneur in another startup, but the whole premise of it, we brought in financial wellness. We have a financial wellness product that we're teaching employees. One of my biggest discontents as an employer, and every employee I've ever had, is either relationship problems or financial stress coming to work. And that impacts their efficiency and it impacts their absenteeism, their mood, their productivity. So I started thinking about, you know, how many of them, 76 Americans are struggling. They're paycheck to paycheck. And that's just not like blue collar workers. I'm talking executives are making 30 grand a month and they're paycheck to paycheck. There's an epidemic. So we created a financial wellness product, and we're not selling any financial products. So at the end, it's not like, oh, hey, now roll over your IRA, or hey, go buy some life insurance, or you need to do this. It's just teaching base education on cash flow. And as we did that evolved. We actually partnered up with another company that did mental wellness and personal development. We did one that has physical wellness, nutrition, actually accountability. Our whole company is based on accountability and efficiency for employees. But employers are looking at it and saying, all right, we want to invest in our employees. Things have changed. The pensions went away when the advent of the 401k happened, and people aren't working 40 years for anyone anymore. They are moving every 4 to 5 years, and attrition is a huge cost to any business owner. I mean, I lost an assistant one time, and it probably cost me 15 to 20 grand just to catch up because of the things I had to do to replace her time and all the things that she did for me. So we went out there and said, how do we show employees that an employer values them? And it's not the solve all, but if we can bring in some financial education, if we can bring in some personal development, if we can bring in some change to their physical health and make them happier. And I know that you, Colton, as my boss, are providing that to me, gives me a little bit more trust. So the whole premise around the company is to enhance employee experience. And we want businesses to start investing in the greatest asset, which is their people.
I've always had the belief of pay people what they're worth, right? And what I found out with employees is not everyone just wants more money. Pay people what they're worth doesn't necessarily have to equate to dollar signs. It can simply equate to having a conversation with them and find out how their life is going. What's going on? Not this idea of you have to be separated from your employees and the boss, but how can you actually come together as a family? How can you actually support one another? I don't care if it's a brand new, like we got Jaden, 23 years old, just joined our organization, dealing with the idea of possibly getting married and deciding what to do with that whole side of his life. Or if you're where Jeremy's at, who's part of our organization, and he's 33 years old, and they married for 13 years, and we all have stuff, these things within. Hey, we're here for you. We support you. And that's why I love the concept of iWellness. So is this just for corporations, or is this a possible education platform for just people that aren't part of a corporation?
I mean, right now it's set up more direct towards business. We do have a retail side of that where we could help individuals. That's not our primary focus, but the whole premise of iRise is to really help people and enhance their experience. So that's something we're working on. I mean, our technology is very new. Our experience is very old. So I trust our channel partners and the business that they've done for years and years, how many people they've impacted. So yeah, I mean, I think our phase 2, as we're developing, is more going to be directed towards the consumer marketplace. But right now it's more business directed. So we work really, really well with anyone that owns a business, kind of the C-level executives that are looking to change culture and enhance the experience with each of their employees. That's really where we can fit in right now. But, all of our channel partners do have private ways to enroll individuals. So it's not that we can't help them.
Awesome, man. I love that. So I want to touch on this last thing and then we'll wrap it up. The ability to spend nearly 20 hours a week with each one of your family members and your family together, and to spend time golfing and fly fishing and building relationships. You still have to make money. You still have to get paid. And how does that happen? How does someone get to the point from having to trade a dollar or an hour for dollars and get to the point where they're just creating value and creating that cash flow and that passive income and the residual income, so they don't have to trade dollar for hours?
My primary belief is dollars follow value. And for me, it was a choice. I mean, I don't have complete financial abundance right now. I'm not just, hey, I can do whatever. I mean, I do have to support my family, yet I don't do transactions anymore. People are coming to me because of the experience, and now, hey, can you help our company do this? Or, hey, we're dealing with my parents passed away and we have this trust. Can you help us? Can you introduce us to an attorney? Whatever it may be. And people are coming to me now because I think they just trust how I show up in their lives. So I think it takes a while. It's definitely the easy, hard versus hard, easy philosophy. The easy thing for me to do is just go out and transact, and I can make a lot of money, but it makes my life hard because I don't have deep relationships, authentic relationships. So the hard, easy for me has been to make that transition where I'm not just about closing a deal. It's about how can I create value for you, and when the time is right, it seems to be coming back. So I don't want to be all, it's only positive energy and I'm manifesting it, but it shows up in my life that I've created value for so many years for people that they're coming back to me when they're ready. And that creates the win-win, where now I'm not trying to force a transaction down their throat. It's not easy. I mean, there's been months that I had no money, zero. It's funny, last year, I'll admit this, I mean, I'm pretty transparent. I went late on my mortgage last year. I went over 30 days late, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, whoops. I never would have looked at it before, but I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it because it is what it is. It's a number on a piece of paper. Obviously, I didn't create enough value. How do I go create more value? And things follow it. So, life's not always easy, but for me, I'm only willing to invest in relationships. That's the only way I can live my life and feel like I can sleep well at night. So for me, sometimes I struggle financially. Sometimes I struggle spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, whatever it may be. But I think every other human being in this world also has the same problems. And we're willing to share that, when we're willing to be transparent, share our experiences, I think that's what allows us to grow. And then value does follow those real transparent conversations.
I I have so many people. I love that whole idea of being transparent, being authentic with your freaking problems, your shit that you're dealing with, right? Because every one of us has, no one's perfect. Everyone has shit they're dealing with at different levels. And I have so many people as I've expanded, my entrepreneurship into social media and growing ever earn doing it. And I said, well, how earn? But the real question is, how much value are you going to, who are you going to go create value for, and how can you do that now without expecting to get paid? And I look back at the whole success of not only my real estate sales business, but my online entrepreneurship businesses that have actually set me financially free. The ability to have your expenses paid for from passive and residual income is a beautiful idea, but it didn't become real for me till I stopped focusing on the dollars and I started focusing on the people and what I could provide for them and what value I could create for them. And I wish there was a way we could pass that to more human beings and more people listening, because that is the whole secret to it. And how do we get that message out there?
Yeah, I think it starts with what you're doing right now. You're willing to put your time and effort in to ask these questions, to stress, and what are you doing? You're creating value for people. So I think it's every conversation we have with anyone. I mean, anyone listening to this podcast, the next conversation you have, ask a couple more questions. Hey, how are you really doing? What can I do to help your life? I think it's a matter of us taking a stewardship, each and every one of us individuals, and sharing things. I mean, I've shared some pretty hard things. I mean, try being in the financial and saying, oh yeah, I went late on my mortgage. I mean, that's not a fun thing to ever say. Yet, I had to go through that experience and feel that for that month in order to serve other people and understand and put myself and empathize with them, not just be like, oh, well, yeah, pay your bills. No, I had to, things happen. Life didn't go well. My dad died and my world went to shit all of a sudden. It was crazy. It was all of a sudden. And I didn't focus on anything else. And, I look back and I'm like, well, what did I learn from that? How can I utilize those situations to help others? And I think if we all have a willingness to help another person, but be genuine about it, that's how the message spreads.
So going back to the whole start of this topic today, being a badass dad, it's more than just being there for your children. It's just being there for people. And it starts at home. It starts with yourself and at home and with the people that you love and the people that you come into contact with. Obviously, you're going to be nice to the person that you're helping open the door for, but at the same time, you're already walking throughout your day, probably thinking there's probably people on your mind, names popping up and say, hey, I need to reach out to so-and-so. I need to see what's going on with their life. And I don't think it's something that's forced. I think it's kind of like I don't know, almost like a sixth sense sort of thing that who you're supposed to help out and serve. And I appreciate you.
Yeah,
you coming on, Greg.
Go ahead. Well, yeah, one thing, I just want to add to that, and then we can end it. But every morning I text or call at least two to five people, minimum of two, no matter what. Even if it's just say, hey, Colton, thank you for being in my life. I appreciate you. I reach out. So every time I think about anyone, or if we're on a call and someone opens up and says, hey, how was this person doing? I stop and I just send them a quick message, because with ADD, I'll forget about it. But every time I hear someone's name, I just send them a quick message and say, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. And when we do that, the relationships enhance.
I love that, man. I appreciate you coming on today and sharing a lot of your knowledge and your experience and being completely transparent with us, because you are a major influence in my life. You have been for 9 years since I met you with the Financial Fast Track, and I'm just grateful to be able to learn from you today. So anything final that you want to share, invite people to? Sorry, I just had someone walk in my door with a squeak. Anything you want to share as we wrap things up?
Yeah, go home today. And if you have kids, schedule a date with them this week, within the next 7 days. Even if it's 15 minutes, it doesn't have to be 2 hours like I do. It can be 15 minutes. Spend quality time. It's not quantity at all. Quality focused time with each and every one of your kids this next week. I challenge you to do that. I promise you the result will be life-changing.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on today. I just want to remind everyone here on the podcast listening in, this is sponsored by Fearless Agent. You go to fearlessagent.com to check out where you can learn your skills, your schedules, and your system to create an awesome real estate sales business. And then also Mojo Sells, the best today. Greg, thanks again for coming on. How can people reach out to you, connect with you if what your message was today resonates with them?
You can go to irise, IRISE wellness.com, and my email is just Greg, Greg, at irisewellness.com. If you're a friend of Colton's and there's something I can do to create value for you, even just to have a 15-minute conversation, happy to do it.
Awesome, man. And these conversations can be about cash flow, it can be about helping with your financial situation, it can be with your even relationships, as we've learned today, which Greg is an expert in. I would challenge you guys to all go to that website, irisewellness.com, and there's like a 3 or 4 minute video on there.
Yeah, it's about 3 minutes. It gives our why and our premise really well. It's a great video.
I had my whole team the other day when you sent it to me watch that, and it really connects with what's real in life, and not that surface shit that we're all freaking covering up our reality with. So thanks for coming on. You guys make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my podcast if you haven't already. You can follow me on Instagram at the WGR. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, man.